Beach FM, locals talking to locals.
For all those who are saying, we haven't heard from Ralph McCallister today. Well, I've got him on the telephone line now, and I have to apologise because normally he's on at, around about 25 to 10, but we gave him his beauty sleep-in time, and we've got him on now. Good morning, Ralph.
Yes, good morning. You're just fading a wee bit. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, I can hear you nice and clearly. Yes, you can.
Oh, that's good.
Good. Are you still at Waiheke, Ralph?
Oh, well, I don't want to leave, Nigel. It's just so lovely up here, and it's a wee bit colder this morning. I'm sure it's just everywhere, but I'll go for my walk as soon as I finish talking to you.
Good as gold. And you've been reading incessantly, I should imagine.
Well, the pile is almost exhausted that my friend left for me before he left for Sweden, so I might have to go out and look for a few books myself, which is a bit of an onerous task, isn't it?
Yes. You've been over to Auckland City?
Yes, I have, and I'm not going back there unless I have to. The downtown Auckland is like not even a third world country. The roads are all up, the streets are being tunnelled, and near the ferry area, it's just absolute hell. So I'm not complaining about Auckland. I'm just saying that I prefer Waiheke and the gentle peace and quiet here, apart from the number of tourists that seem to be diminishing now, but that's fine.
Sure.
So yes, no, I'm quite happy to leave Auckland to its own devices. They have a readers and writers coming up soon, which I might stay for, but I might just come back to beloved Paikakariki. Anyway, you don't want to hear all that boring stuff.
I'm quite interested, actually. I was just wondering whether they're going to have an Anzac Day service on Waiheke.
Oh, the RSA has been preparing it for about a week, and they've cleared all the spaces, and they have a big function, of course. It's the only one on the island, and
yes.
I don't think I'll go for my own personal reasons. Apart from anything else, I don't like crowds, and but I'll wish them well, you know,
yeah.
and perhaps pop in the afternoon to say hello to people.
Good on you.
No, it's going to be a big time. I presume you'll be up at 4 o'clock in the morning?
Oh, something like that, Ralph, yeah.
Yeah, but that's the time you usually go out running as well, isn't it?
Oh, don't be like that, yes. All right, Ralph. Now, what have you read?
Well, it's a mixed bag, and I've not had very much success this last week or so, but I do want to talk about Jo Nesbo, who's, of course, the greatest writer in terms of black Scandinavian thrillers, and he has been given the task, self-volunteered, I might say, to do a rewrite on Macbeth, Shakespeare's Macbeth. Hogarth Press have been doing this for a few years now. They've done ones on Merchant of Venice, and in other words, you take the story, the play, and you reinvent it, just using that as a base. I don't think there are any real commitments except that you take Macbeth and you change it as much as you like. And this has been said by Nesbo, who has, I might tell you, sold about 35 million copies of his Harry Hole novels and the wonderful books, which I love. So I grabbed a hold of Macbeth, that's what it's called, and it's all set in a sort of 1970s Scotland, I think. Fife is mentioned. There are a few references to Scandinavia as well. But mostly it's about a Duncan who wants to reform the drugs-ridden, squalid nature of this part of Scotland. And he hires, of course, trying to get rid of the grimness in the area, this sort of ghastly soot and poison that lies like a constant lid of mist over the town. And Macbeth is a leader of a SWAT team. He's in the army. He's a man of the people. But he's also a drug addict. So the fact that perhaps he has ambition. That's where the story shifts,
right.
Of course. And he knows Lady Macbeth, and Lady is not his wife. Lady is her first name, and she's the head of a casino, and she's a fair, flame-coloured, fatale woman, femme fatale. And she said she wants Macbeth to murder Duncan, and of course she doses him full of drugs, and that's where he gets all his hallucinations about witches and so on. It's a grim story, but of course the original is pretty grim, Nigel, as you know, and I have a great feeling for Macbeth, the play. I've directed it, I think, 3 times and been in it and so on. So I was a little bit unenthusiastic about this. It's clever, and that's what I kept thinking. You've got some of his best writing, so all his fans, 35 million books later, will probably go for this, but I was a wee bit disappointed. I know he's a great writer, but he doesn't push it far enough for me. The best one, and then I'll stop talking, the best one is probably Jeanette Winterson's one about A Winter's Tale, which I loved, and the others are good, but it's an interesting concept, isn't it? Changing the story, and they've done it with Dickens, they've done it with Thackeray and so on, but I was less impressed with this Macbeth. Sure. I went straight back to the original and had a wee look at some of the things I love about it. The chilling nature of when Macduff is asked to get his revenge ready, he looks simply at Malcolm and says, Macbeth, he has no children. In other words, my revenge would be to kill all his children in revenge, you know. Chilling moments. They're not there for this Jo Nesbo, but I'm sure that won't put his multitude of fans off reading it.
How old is he now, Ralph?
I think he's in his late 40s now, and he's an interesting guy, and he really is king of the thriller, black noir novels genre, but he's got a long sort of career ahead of him if he wants it.
I just can't get over the number of books he's actually written. It's amazing, isn't it? He must be just consistently pushing words out.
Well, he is, but they come so easily to him, and they read so easily that he is an extraordinary writer. And as I said to you at the beginning, I love his work. This one doesn't quite... but we're allowed to experiment and explore, aren't we?
Absolutely, and you've got to read them to find out whether you like it or not.
That's absolutely right, and I'll tell you about next week if you do ring me in any time next week in 24 hours. I'll tell you about the ones I didn't like in the last few weeks.
Ralph, you enjoy your day in Waiheke. Lovely and sunny up there today, I suppose?
The sun has just come through, and I'm just going to sit out on the deck, have my coffee, and then go off into a terrible walk on the beach, which will be wonderful.
Thanks very much for your time, Ralph, and we'll call you at the regular time next week.
Okay, I'll keep you straight.
Righto. Ralph McCallister, there we are.
106.3 Beach FM.